Hello everyone, this is Dr. Taima Mitweli. I hope you're well, safe and healthy. I would like to just give you a bit of a small bio about myself. I've got 25 years experience in senior management roles. I've worked as a CEO, a general manager, senior manager in construction companies, real estate, wealth management companies and export and import companies as well. Now, I have also completed my MBA and DBA, specialising in continuous improvement and entrepreneurship, specialising in basically in the field of education. Now, today I also will be conducting the subject leadership, one of my favourite subjects, especially in the senior management roles. I would also like to outline that the textbook that we should be using for this particular subject, it's called Leadership Theory, Application and Skill Development. It's the 4th edition by two authors. One is by Robert Lucia and the second by Christopher Achua. So you will be getting a soft copy as a PDF, and we'll be going through the chapter number 1 at the moment. So as we're going through the slides, I highly recommend you to also read the chapter from the textbook, because it goes through also a lot of details, especially for your assignment or your exam. So I'll be going through the main core foundations and main core theories. However, as I stated before, that I would highly recommend you to making sure that you read that textbook as we're going through the chapters. So the first chapter that we're going to go through is chapter number 1 today, and the title of that chapter is Who is a Leader? And this is a very important, and we're going to go through basically the foundation of leadership. Now, the question I would like to ask you is, are leaders made or born? Yes, you're right. So, majority of the scholars actually have agreed that leaders are made and are not born. Leadership is a set of skills that can be learned from experience, from training, and practice. So it's basically leaders are made, even though there's a theory that emphasises, that leaders are born, which we're going to go through in the following chapters. Slide number 6, which we're going to be going through, actually the introduction now of leadership and what is leadership, and we're going to define leadership as per the scholars and textbooks that you have. Now, a leadership is the action of leading a group of people or leading an organisation or even a country. So a lot of people think that it's actually just leading a small group, but you could be a leader leading a large organisation such as a big bank, HSBC. You could be the CEO. You are considered as a leader for a 5,000 or 10,000 employees. You could be even the leader of a country, such as an example of Barack Obama, the US president, leading as a leader for the whole country itself. So you as the leader. Now, in relation to leadership, very important is actually, a part of the definition, is actually an art of motivating a group of people to act toward achieving a goal. Now, the key word that I actually would like to emphasize here is actually the reason that I want to emphasize on the word art, because it is a skill that you actually get develop and it becomes an art. And it, depending how good you are individually in that particular, what we call art, you become a greater leader, okay? So leadership is actually an art of motivating a group of people. Now, the main, also another key that I would like to really emphasize is actually motivating, okay? You as a leader, one of the main roles that you will be conducting is actually motivating employees, motivating your stakeholders. So this is really important. And motivating them for what? For achieving the goals, achieving the mission, achieving those objectives, etc., etc. So this is a really crucial part for you to, as a leader, to understand initially. So for you to motivate these employees or these stakeholders, you need to lead, influence, you need to guide, and you need to command people. So these are some of the things or tools that you're going to be using part of leadership. And we're going to go through that in quite detail as we go through the chapters. Now, in relation to definition, which is located in slide number 7, there are many, many different definitions here, and I'm going to go through the main core ones. Now, one of the first things that I would like to mention here by a number of great leadership experts, they're pioneers in the leadership. One of them is Peter Drucker, and he defined leadership as the only definition of a leader is someone who has followers. That's how he's actually defined leadership. So with that, if you consider yourself a leader but you don't have any followers, unfortunately you're not a leader, okay? So he considered to be a leader, you need to have followers, okay? And obviously to gain followers, you need to have the technique to influence these followers so they can follow you, okay? So that was the first definition. The second definition by Mr. John Maxwell, which is again another pioneer in leadership. He defined leadership as leadership is influence, nothing more. So it's basically, he's stating that leadership, it's all about influence, nothing more, nothing less, okay? It's about you influencing others. That's how he put it, okay, as leadership. Now, the third definition by Mr. Warren Bennis, again a great pioneer, he defined leadership as it's a function of knowing yourself, having a vision that is well communicated, building trust among your colleagues, and taking effective actions to realize your own leadership potential. Now, this is a longer definition by Mr. Warren Bennis, and key words I would like to emphasize here, because it is a detailed definition, is that the first thing that he's actually put part of the leadership is actually, he stated that knowing yourself, knowing your strength as a leader, okay? So this is really important. Second point that he actually really emphasized here is actually having a vision, that you as a leader need to have that very strong, spot-on vision, and that vision needs to be communicated to the others, okay? And when we say communicated, it needs to be very well communicated to others, okay? So the second part is having a vision, and that needs to be well communicated to your followers. Then the third thing is stated, you as a leader, you need to build that trust. Because if these followers don't trust you, they're not going to follow you. You're not going to be able to influence them. So trust, he put here as a key word, that it's very crucial technique for a leadership or for a good leader, okay? Now, the last point that he talks about, taking effective action to realize your own leadership potential. So you need to make sure that you have an effective actions. You need to have a strategy of how you're going to use that leadership potentials to ensure that you have the maximum influence on your followers. Okay, so it's a little bit more of a detailed definition comparison to the other two, but they're all you can see that all have the main keyword as influence here. Okay, now more definition on page number 9. We got these from other textbooks and other pioneers. So leadership deals with the skills from his or her experience, use common sense and or best practice from previous situation, therefore involving the leader, the followers and the situation. Now, very important here, this definition is that stating here that the leadership uses the skills, okay, and the common sense from the past experience that they went through. So it's stating here that leadership requires experience so you can actually implement a good leadership, okay? So, and in relation to leadership, it requires 3 things. It requires a leader, and it requires followers, and the third thing is it requires a situation. So there's three aspects that you need to be aware of: leader, followers, and situation. And this is really, really important slide, because this is actually the foundation of leadership. Very, very important. Leadership is an art, is a unique factor. You cannot have two leaders with exactly the same leadership skills. So what we're saying here, that leaderships are unique. You can have two great leadership, as an example, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. They're the two great, one of my great leadership leaders that I look up to. Now, they're great leaders, but if you look into these two leaders, they have still different skills and different approaches. Okay? So what we're saying is that leaders are unique in their own aspect, and you won't have two leaders with exactly the same leadership skills. Okay, so this is very important. And that because of many things. I mean, people are different in nature because of their background, because of their upbringing, because of their education, because of nationality, and many, many other factors. So all these really play a major impact, and again, that leads us really why a leader is not born, is actually made, and because of these external factors, these that actually have an impact on that leader. And the last thing that I would like to mention in part of this slide is leadership is a science. It can be learned and taught. So as a leader, you can learn these soft skills. Most of it's actually soft skills that you actually learn, and it can be taught to others. So you as a leader can teach skills, leadership skills, to your colleagues and so on. So it is a science, and it can be learned and can be taught. We go to our next slide, which is slide number 10. Now, again, more definition. So leadership is both rational and emotional. And this is very important. A lot of people think that leadership is just a strategy. You need to conduct a strategy and implement it. That is a leadership. In fact, that's not really what leadership is all about. It's part of it, but that's not all what leadership is all about. So leadership has to do with a lot with rational and emotional. And we're going to talk a lot about that, especially when you're dealing with the employees and stakeholders. It's crucial to have that rational and emotional aspects and understand those very well to be a good leader. So leaders can use emotional and rational, which is common sense logic, approach to influence others. So these are some of the techniques that you can really be a good influence leader to influence, obviously, your followers for them to do what you want them to do. Okay. The next definition talks about that leadership is a process in which leaders and followers interact dramatically in a particular situation or environment. So it's a process where the leader and the followers, these two, interact at a particular situation. Okay, so that's also another definition. And then it talks about another definition: leadership can be developed through a study and experience, which again, we're coming back to the science definition. That can be taught and can be learned. Now, the last point here says leadership obviously is a process, not a position. So a lot of, again, people that have this myth that the minute that you become a manager, you're a leader. The minute that you become a CEO, you are a leader. Yes, you expect that you're a leader, but you may not have what we call the leadership skills. Okay, so you can have a position of a senior manager. You can have a position as a general manager. You can have a position as a chairman, but really the leadership skills that you actually have is not there. It's not been learned, okay, which is crucial, which will affect you in that position if you don't have those skills. Okay, we're going to talk about leadership qualities, which is the next slide here. Now, this is a very important slide, and I would like to mention this because these are some of the qualities, what I consider the more important qualities. There's a lot more than that, but these are probably the crucial qualities of the leadership or as a leader that I'm going to focus on part of this subject because of, obviously, again, with the time constraint as well. Now, there's a number of qualities here that we're going to go through in details, okay? Now, the first one that I would like to talk about is basically inspire and influence. And the reason that I selected that as my first one, a quality that I would like to talk about as a leader, is because for me it had a major impact in my career. And I've seen the impact and the influence that this has caused in my past careers. So what do we mean by you inspire? What does that mean? Now, you'll go through this slide here and it states, as a leader, you need to inspire and motivate the followers by setting a good example. Now, for you to inspire, okay, you need to be a motivator. Okay, you need to have that strong energy in that room that everybody going, wow, you know what, I feel inspired. You know, you need to inspire these people. Some of them are going to be feeling negative. Some of them might be going through some difficulties or some issues. You, as a leader, need to change that. You need to change that negative energy to a positive energy. Okay, so you need to inspire. And by doing that, you need to set the example. Okay, and again, people like Barack Obama and these other great leaders, provide these exact examples. When the going gets tough, which unfortunately, in any business or any leader, things do get tough. Now, people, the followers, look up to you as the leader. What are you going to do next? How are you going to handle that situation? Are you going to scream? Are you going to, lose your temper? What are you going to do? How are you going to handle that? Okay. Now, by you saying or stating to them, inspiring them to be positive, okay, and always looking at the positive side, then they'll look at you as that example that they want. They will look at you as that's the hope that we're looking for. Okay. So it's very important that for you as a leader, you need to set that example. You can't tell these followers to be positive where you yourself is actually negative. Okay? So that will not work very well. And that's part of being a good leader, to inspire the followers. The other point I would like to talk to you about, as a leader, you should think positive, and this should be visible through your actions. Now, sometimes as a leader, we're talking about inspire, you're talking about positive things, you're talking about all these great energies, etc. However, your actions, unfortunately, talks completely the different perspective. Now, you can't talk the talk and completely and walk the walk in a different direction. You can't do that. Now, your followers will look at you that you are just a talker. You talk great, but there's no action. Okay? You state one thing, but you do completely different thing. And unfortunately, I came across leaders like so previously, and unfortunately, you lose respect. You lose trust. And this is a very important factor to gain as a leadership. The minute that you lose that, you lose your credibility, unfortunately. Okay? Now, as a leader, you need to follow the 3 C's, which are, you need to be cool, calm, and collective. Doesn't matter how difficult the situation may be. Okay? You need to always stay positive. Okay? Remember, you are the one that inspiring these followers. You are the one that are being promoted as the leader. So therefore, having that the 3 C's, staying cool, calm, and collective is crucial. And you should always remind yourself, as a leader, I've got to be cool, calm, and collective. Doesn't matter what the situation is. Doesn't matter how difficult the situation may be, how difficult that person could be to you. Follow the 3 C's. Okay, and making sure that the energy, that positive energy, is always up. You need to always have that motivation energy really up. Okay, never look down or never be down in front of your followers, okay? So, because remember, they're coming to you for that support. They're coming to you to gain that positive energy. So if I'm coming to you, you are my leader and I am your follower, and I'm going through a difficult situation and I'm coming to you and I can see that you're down and you're going through this negative energy, what are you going to do to me? You've gained me nothing, but you've actually made my energy from negative to even worse. Okay, so it's crucial that you always stay positive. It doesn't matter how difficult the situation may be. Okay. Now, the next slide talks about influence. Okay. Now, again, this is a very important technique as a leader that you need to gain. Now, what is influence? Now, a couple definition here. Leaders need to understand how to influence and motivate others. Okay, this is crucial. So there's a technique on doing that. By achieving this, leaders can overcome any current or future challenge easily. Now, by you understanding how you can influence others, now you might be going through a very difficult situation, okay, through the business or whatever it may be. Now, by you influencing your employees or your team, you can overcome the obstacle by influencing them correctly. Now, by a statement here by Mr. John Adams, who's the 6th US President, stated here, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. You are really a true leader. And look at very, very precise words here by Mr. John Adams, who's the 6th US President, states, if your actions, not your words, your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, and do more, and become more, then truly that you are a leader. Now, that is what really influence is all about, okay? And to be a really good politician, you need to influence others. You need to have those great followers, and you need to tell them your dreams and what they can achieve so they can believe in you and trust you, okay? The next quality that we're going to talk about in part of our slide, the next slide is called honesty and integrity. Now, what is that? Now, the quality of leadership relies on honesty and integrity. Without it, no real success is possible. Okay? So if you are not honest or you don't have integrity to your followers, people will lose trust in you. Okay? Now, this is crucial. Honesty and integrity are two important ingredients which make a good leader. So this is part of the main two ingredients for you to gain leadership, okay? People can follow you. People can trust you. Leaders succeed when they stick to their values and core beliefs. So you can't have a belief today and change a belief tomorrow. You can have a strategy today and have a completely different strategy tomorrow. You can't say one thing today and another thing tomorrow, okay? No one will believe you, okay? Without ethics, moral principles, respect, honesty, integrity, leaders will not succeed. Now, very important with part of being honesty, obviously comes also transparency, but with integrity also comes back respect. You know, people look at you, how are you treating others? Are you treating others differently because of their color, religion, experience, age, maybe sex, males and females, etc.? Why are you treating people differently? Now, if you're not treating everybody equally and respecting everybody the same, that will cause a major issue, okay? So this is a crucial. Now, also, again, we spoke earlier that if you're not honest, okay, and you're not making proper statements, you know, and you're not changing your minds, you know, now and then, this will cause also a crucial issues for you as a leader. Now, the next point or quality that I would like to talk about is actually confidence. Now, every leader needs to be confident. Now, what I mean by that is that confidence comes with a lot of factors. One factor that you're experienced in that field. You have a number of years. You know your strategy. You've been in that field, in the industry, in many years. So you're really confident. Okay, you've been a leader. Okay, you've dealt with people. You know how to deal with people. That creates confidence. So you need to be confident, and it is it's a soft skill that you need to learn and develop as a leader. So you can't lead people and I am not confident of what I'm saying. I am also always shaking and not really knowing what I'm saying. It's either I know what I'm saying or I don't know what I'm saying. Okay? So it's very important to be confident as a leader. So as the slide states here, a leader needs to be confident enough to ensure the followers follow the command. So if the followers are not confident enough of what I'm saying to them, they're not going to follow me. Okay? If that information that I'm saying, the statistics or the strategy that I'm actually suggesting to these followers, and if I'm uncertain or I'm showing uncertainty in that strategy, then these followers will not follow me. They're going to be hesitant. So, very important quality as a leader. By having confidence, you also gain respect, trust from followers. So by you showing confidence because you experience and because you're so sure of this particular direction that you're going to take these followers into, these followers will trust you. They're going to say, yes, you know what? We follow him because he is really experienced. We're going to follow her because she really knows exactly what she's talking about. And that is a good leader. You need to have that confidence. The third point that we're going to talk about, part of the slide, is be aware that confidence does not turn into arrogance. Now, very important, and I've seen this again, and unfortunately, where great leaders, they get over, and I'm going to use the word here, overconfident, and that confidence turns into arrogance. As an example, don't tell me what to do, what's your suggestion? I know better. Even though that could be another suggestion from your followers or from your employees, could be outlining something that you're not aware of, but you've shut them down because you are stating to them that you are so experienced, you are so superior in that field that you do not require any other feedback, that you don't require any brainstorming or any other suggestions from any of your employees or followers. And people might take that quite negative and quite from an arrogant perspective. So be careful with that. So don't turn confidence into arrogance. And arrogance, unfortunately, comes with a very negative emotions, especially to your stakeholders, and may cause a major impact, a negative impact to yourself and to the organization. The next quality that I would like to talk about is actually commitment and passion. Now, for you to be a good leader, you need to have a very strong commitment, okay? And you need to be passionate and you need to believe what you're doing. So if you're directing the organization in a certain direction and you've told them, this is the vision that we want to achieve in the next 5 years or 10 years, you need to be committed and you need to be passionate about that vision, okay? So that is two qualities that a leadership need to have. As it states, a leader needs to be passionate about their vision and goals, okay? So if you do not believe that these goals are realistic, that you or your organization can achieve these goals, if you don't believe in that, how can you expect your followers or your employees to follow that? Now, remember, you are the leader, so you are setting the benchmark. So ensure that you do believe in those goals and you do believe in that vision that you've actually set for the organization. That is a direction. That is a direction that you'll be setting for the whole organization. And if that direction is incorrect, then you've led the whole organization in the correct direction. Okay. The next point I would like to also emphasize that you need to be committed and show the team the duties and punctuation. Okay, so now, very important, we stated that you need to lead as an example. So you need to show that the team that you are so committed, that you are so punctual, that I know certain leaders, they are the first people that come to the office and they are the last people that actually leave the office. Now, to me, when I had these leaders, I looked up at these leaders, go, wow, he is really committed, or she is really committed. We start at 9 o'clock and he's in the office at 8 o'clock or 7:30. We finish at 5 o'clock and he's actually at the door. He finishes probably by 6 or 6:30. Okay? It doesn't mean that I have to finish at that time, but I can see as he or she is my example that this person is really committed, that they really want to make sure they actually achieve these goals. Okay? They are passionate. They love their job. Okay? They're taking it quite seriously. Okay? It's not a joke for them. Now, the third point I would like to mention here is that this will help a leader to gain respect. Now, when people see you as the leader, coming early and finishing late, that you're so committed, you're so passionate, people will gain respect for you. This is a positive as a leader. Okay, so this is a very important ingredient or quality that a leader should actually have. Being committed and be passionate of what you do. Now, the next quality I would like to also talk about now is very important quality, which is, you as a leader need to be a good communicator. Now, this is very important. You could have great ingredients or other qualities, but if you cannot communicate that vision, if you cannot communicate your strategies to your followers, if you cannot influence, if you cannot motivate through communication, because all this is through communication, how are these people can be moved? How these employees can be shaken and can say, what? I do believe in you. I trust you. So a lot of it happens, yes, action speaks louder than words, but words do play a big role. So you need to communicate, especially if you're going to be providing tasks, especially if you're going to be explaining certain strategies. You need to communicate that very clearly, and that may be communicated differently to certain groups. Okay, so as an example, I had to communicate differently to architects and engineers in comparison to when I had a group meetings with contractors. So I had to drop my language a little bit lower, and making sure that I spoke a lot more clearer, and making sure that my strategy was a lot more simpler in comparison when I was dealing with the high educated individuals such as your senior architects or your senior engineers who have finished universities and have done maybe the doctorates and so on. So it's very crucial that you got to understand who your target is and making sure that you communicate quite well using the right lingo for that particular group or for that particular team. So this is a very, very important quality. And as it states, a leader needs to communicate their vision effectively to the team and be very clear on the strategies to achieve their goals. Now, very important that you as a leader, you're going to be setting this vision, or that you need to achieve that vision, but you as a leader need to communicate that vision to all your stakeholders. And every single stakeholder needs to understand that vision. That needs to be communicated quite well. They need to know where they are heading. Because if they do not know, you'll see different employees or different departments will be heading in different sections. Okay? And you will not be united. You need to unite as an organization and heading and force and have that one major force through one direction, okay, which will give you the optimal results. The next point I would like to mention is special words have the power to motivate, inspire people, and make them do under unthinkable. Now, you could communicate with this individual by using certain words. You know what really moves your employees. You know what really moves these particular groups or teams, and you use those words. Okay, this is really important for you as a leader. You need to making sure that you articulate your language and making sure that you use these keywords, and you know from your studies, you know from your research, you know from experience, that these words with these particular groups moves them, has an impact. Therefore, I'm going to use that, okay, and making sure I can actually influence these individuals, okay, or these teams. So this is a very important part of being a good communicator. The next quality that I would like to discuss now is actually decision maker. Now, for you to be a good leader, you need to make decisions. And unfortunately, you will be making many decisions. Some of them are going to be really good and easy decisions. I love those ones. And some of them are going to be very difficult decisions. Okay? Example, you might have to fire a whole department. You might have to cut costs, etc., etc., etc. Now, very important when you're making decisions is that you got to use your leadership skills, again, coming back from your experience, extensive research, and making sure that you brainstorm and liaise with the team, the specialist team that will actually benefit you as a leader in relation to that specific decision. So if that decision relates to finance, I would go to my finance department and seeing what this finance will affect, and making sure that I'm communicating with the other department that will relate back to that budget. So it's ensuring that you need to communicate and making sure that when you're going to make the final decision, that you know that this is the right decision, that there's no regret. And this is a crucial part as a leader. The last thing that you want to do is make a decision and you realize that you've made the wrong decision. Now, that's very, very harsh, especially coming from a senior management roles for a number of years, where I know that when you make the wrong decisions, it can cost, firstly, enormous amount of money to the organization. 2, it can also cost you your own reputation. Okay, and 3, it may also have a major impact to your employees and other stakeholders. So it's crucial that before you do make that decision, that you are fully satisfied and you know that the minute that you're going to make it, that's it. There's no regrets. Okay. Now, as the slide states here, a leader needs to have the ability to make the right decision at the right time. Now, a very important point I would like to outline is that from experience, I might have made a decision, okay, but now I have a situation, very similar situation, but the timing has changed. Things has changed. So my decision is going to be different in comparison to what I actually made before because of the timing. And the timing has an impact. So you as a leader need to be aware of the timing, okay, and the implication that's going around through that current time. Because that current time that we're going to make a decision could be completely different than what you've made it a year or 2 or 5 or 10 years ago. Okay, so timing is a crucial factor that you need to be aware of as the leader at all times. The next point I would like to discuss states here, decision taken by leaders have a profound impact on the followers. That's where that narrative there, and I did mention that earlier, that sometimes that negative or that wrong decision that you've actually made may have a massive impact on your stakeholders, either being your employees or the investors or external stakeholders or whoever it may be, okay? So do not underestimate when you make a decision, okay? Very important. And again, and if you do make the right decision, then that also has a big impact to the organization, to your reputation, to employees, and that gains trust. You know what? We had a leader, he gave us that direction, it really worked, it gave us great returns. Wow, he knows or she knows exactly what to do. We look up to our leader. They make the right decision. Okay, so this is very important. The last thing that you want to have the reputation that this leader, every time he makes or every time she makes a decision, it's usually, majority of times is incorrect. That's the last thing that you want for you as a leader. Okay, because that's your own reputation. Now, the next point I would like to mention: a leader should think long and hard before taking a decision, but once the decision is taken, stand by it. Now, as I stated before, that once you've researched and once you've taken the outputs or the feedback from your employees or your certain stakeholders, once the decision has been taken, you cannot go back a month or two and go, you know what, hold on, I've got to change that decision. I'm gonna change it and we're gonna go a different direction. Now, what you've done there is you create a massive confusion to your stakeholders. And two, it showed that you as a leader you're also incompetent, because once you've given a direction, you said to go ahead, and now you're changing the direction and saying, you know what, let's go to a different direction. Okay, so it's very important to get it right at the first time. Okay, so don't keep in changing decisions because that will create a negative impact. Now, the last point I would like to talk about, part of decision making, is that as a leader, it's recommended before making a decision to consult the team and involve them, and making sure that you talk to the specific stakeholders that knows, that will give you the best feedback based on that decision. Okay, so again, you need to speak about finance, or your decision is based on finance, making sure that you speak to your finance department, the head of finance department. You may actually have an external expertise giving you a further feedback or different strategies that you might consider. So always, look at other options. Now, you as a leader, and we're going to talk about this down the track, you need to think outside the box. Sometimes the answer might be so clear to you, but when you consult others, especially the people that are actually involved in part of the decision, and especially people who are expertise in that particular decision or in that matter, they may give you a view that you weren't aware of. Okay, now, very important to as another quality when you're making a decision is that even though you may have a particular decision that you've decided on, but before you've actually gone ahead, and if another party has actually consulted you with a different decision, that you should actually acknowledge that. That you should say, you know what, actually that decision, that strategy is really good. Actually, I wasn't aware if we can actually do that. So by you admitting there's another option, you actually an open-minded person, you actually thinking outside the box, you're looking for alternatives. So what you are trying to aim for is the best alternative. That's what you're aiming for. As a leader, what is the best decision I should take for that particular problem? Okay, that's all you as a leader, you need to come to a solution, how are we going to solve this? Now, you as a leader, gotta work out what is the best. You might have 5 different strategies, right? 5, 6, ways of doing things. You as a leader need to pick one that will fit best for that particular problem. And that's your quality. That is you as a leader need to decide that. Okay? So as a tip and as a recommendation, very important, to be open-minded, making sure that you speak to the expertise in that matter. There's no point of speaking to someone who doesn't have, much knowledge on that specific, problem that you're going through. So you need to talk to expertise. Talk to the people of your organisation who deal with that particular problem. If you need external opinion, get external opinion, but making sure that the external stakeholders, are expertise in that matter. So this is a really important point that I would like to emphasize. The next point that I would like to mention is basically, or the quality is accountability. Now, you really And again, I came across many leaders that when things go wrong, it's not my fault. It's the team. It's the organization. It's this. It's that. Rather than taking accountability and saying, yes, you know what? I actually failed in this task. I really should have done this and this and this. Or blaming others, or blaming employees, or blaming certain managers, okay, or certain circumstances. You got to really, take accountability. And we're going to go through a couple, statements here with you. Now, part of this slide, it says here, make sure when goals are achieved, the team is well recognized for it, not you. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen in the past, where leaders, when things go well, the leader comes and goes, yes, it was all me. I achieved this. It was because of me that we've achieved this great return on investments. Because of me, we achieved our budgets. Because of me, we have a great reputation. But really, that is not a good leadership skill. Now, you as a leader, you're directing, but the people who your employees, they're actually the backbone. They are the backbone. So therefore, you need to acknowledge them, because they're the one that did the hard yakka. They're the one that did the hard work, okay? And they're the one that actually achieved. You need to acknowledge them and then recognize them for their efforts. So you know what? It was you guys. It was you that made this happen. It was you that we were able to achieve our goals, our mission, and our vision, okay? You need to come back and lift them so high to recognize these employees for their efforts, okay? So don't put yourself, put your employees. Now, again, the negative thing, if things do fail, okay, don't blame your team. Don't blame your stakeholders, okay? Again, you should come back to yourself and go, well, how could I have done this differently? Now, I've seen this strategy didn't work. What could I have done differently to ensure that it would have worked? Okay, learn from your mistakes. Now, great leaders, we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. That's part of human nature, okay? And no one can say to me that he or she is perfect, that they never made mistakes. That's impossible. Then you're not a human, okay? Now, you gotta understand that if you do make a mistake and you do realize that that is a mistake that you've made, then that's the first thing that you need to realize. The second thing is that how to improve that. Now, what can you do differently for the next time? Take notes, making sure that this has been acknowledged to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Now, Mr. Arnold Gosel, he's actually a famous US businessman and a leader. He stated, a good leader takes little more than his share of the blame and little less than his or her share of the credit. And that's basically exactly what we were recapping here, is that when things go really well, the leader takes a little bit share and gives that credit to his stakeholders, to his team or her team, and so on. And when things, do go wrong, that leader should take more of the blame in comparison to the team itself. So this is a really important quality of a good leadership. The next quality that I would like to talk about is delegation and empowerment. Now, this is again a very important quality of a leader. Now, as a leader, you need to understand your employees. You need to understand the teams. You need to understand your stakeholders. What's the qualities of those teams? What is the good qualities and the bad qualities? What are the weaknesses? What are the strengths? And you need to make sure that you're able to delegate tasks to the correct person at the correct time. So what I mean by that is a person A, for example, you know that this person is great in financial analysis. Now, you're going to dedicate that task for that particular person A. But that person A, at that time, is overloaded with other work, okay? Now, you need to understand By you providing that extra task or delegating that extra task to that person A, one, you're going to create greater stress. Okay, that person may cause errors because of too much work. So what you need to understand is that, is it the right time for me to delegate to that particular person? Because that person A is the perfect person, but that person A at the moment cannot take any more. That person A is going through a divorce. That person A is going through a personal issues, or whatever it may be. So you as a leader needs to understand the capacity of the individual or that team or that group. Now, that is part of leadership, okay? So when you're actually delegating a certain task or a strategy to a particular person or a group or a team, you need to make sure from your research and from your past experience, can that person or can that team take that, okay? That's very important. Once you've decided that person or that team can, yes, yeah, I can, they are capable, they're the right person, it is the right timing, then yes, you can delegate, okay? And remember, sometimes you as a leader, and I shouldn't really say sometimes, it's actually most of the times, when I was actually, when I was a CEO of a company, you're limited of how much you can do, okay? We only got a certain amount of hours. Now, as a leader, I needed to focus on the most important factors. The factors that matters. The things that would really make the impact. The things that would really make a dent, to the organization. Okay. Now, that was my focus as a CEO of a company. Now, I didn't really want to worry about smaller stuff. Okay. Smaller stuff I wanted to delegate, but I wanted to make sure I delegated that to the right person. So before I delegated that and I knew that person can do it, I would actually make sure I do my bit of my research. I'll talk to that person, see the workload, etc., etc., and then I would actually delegate it. And by me delegating that task, I can also give them empowerment and go, look, you know what, I want to actually, you as been a manager for 3 years, now I believe that you deserve to be a head manager. I'm going to give you more power, okay, because I believe that you are well deserved. You've been working enough and you have proven yourself and your skills have definitely demonstrated that. Now, very important that you indicate that to employees. You need to start, to empower people. First of all, the leader trusts me with this task. Two is that he's given me the power, and flexibility, to conduct a task and make decisions. Okay. And three, you can even elevate that person and give them, you are head manager. I want you to take this task and, you be responsible for that particular, banks or shops or whatever it may be. Okay. So you've given them extra responsibilities, extra power, extra decision making for him or her to make. Now, this is really important. One, it takes workload from yourself as a leader, and two, it makes you focus on the most important parts. Okay, and three, it gives that extra also strength from the perspective that these employees trust you because you trust them. Okay, it works both ways. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, this is basically our recapped on that. The last point I actually would like to just emphasize, if a leader micromanages the team, it will develop a lack of trust and, more importantly, not have enough time to focus on the more important matters. Now, again, I'll believe that it's a leadership mistake where a leader micromanages. A good leader doesn't need to micromanage his employees. That's not his duties as a leader. Okay. Possibly maybe as a normal manager, but as a leader, you're not meant to micromanage people and stand behind their back and see how they're going to do the tasks. Okay, you're meant to lead. You're meant to give them direction. Okay, and communicate with them, inspire them, influence them, and give them the chance to do the task. The next quality that I would like to discuss is being creative and innovative. Now, you as a leader need to think outside the box. When you're selecting a certain strategy, or when you're selecting a certain speech, you need to sometimes think outside the box. What I'm going to do here, how I'm going to do this differently, how I'm going to achieve being a really a good leader. So you need to think sometimes about that, and there's a lot of effort that gets put into this. And me, as from my past experience, this is a very difficult task for any leader. To continuously being creative and innovative in your workplace, okay? Because you always need to use your mind, and that's a very important strategy that the leaders should really focus on. So as it states here, in order to get ahead in today's fast-paced world, a leader must be creative and innovative in the same time. So you need to think outside, not even just how to be a good leader, but in relation to the product that you're selling, the service that you're offering. How can you be creative? How can you be better? How can you do something differently in comparison to your competitors? Okay. Again, a perfect example when Steve Jobs releases the first iPhone, okay, in 2007. Have a look at that and how creative that was, okay. A leader needs to think outside the box and determine unique ideas and turn those ideas into goals and reality. Now, whenever you're being creative and innovative, you also got to be realistic and making sure that this can be achieved by your organization, it can be achieved by your team. So this is crucial, because that idea will turn into goals, and these goals will need to be achieved by your stakeholders. Creative thinking and constant innovation is what makes a leader and a team stand out from the crowd. Now, this is what creates competitive advantage. Now, we're going to talk about that concept a little bit later, but for you to gain competitive advantage to your competitors is that you need to be creative, innovative. You need to provide something differently where your competitors are not doing. That's what you need to do. You need to be a little bit different. If we are offering exactly the same service as your competitors, or you're offering exactly the same product as other services or your competitors, then me as a customer, why would I select you? Why? Why are you different than 50 other companies who are offering exactly the same product or offering the same service? Why should I select you? Why? Now, this is the question that you need to ask yourself, okay? And this is where the concept competitive advantage comes into, okay? We're going to expand on that a little bit later. Now, again, Steve Jobs made a statement here: innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. Now, this is where the real, true leadership really stands out. By you providing that creative and innovative ideas for your services, for your products, and so on, that is where your time should be focused on, rather than actually micromanaging your employees, micromanaging your managers, and so on and so on. Okay, so this is a crucial point in relation, or crucial quality for a great leader, or for a successful leader. The next quality talks about empathy. Now, again, we are humans, as we said. We're not robots, we're not AIs, okay? We have feelings, okay? And we always will have feelings. Again, that's just human nature, okay? Now, we work on emotions. So empathy plays a massive role. So you need to work on emotions with your employees, with your stakeholders. And by working on your emotions, or working on their emotions, you can achieve a far better result, because emotions has a major impact. Let me explain. Leaders need to have empathy with their followers. This will help them make a closer connection. Understanding the problem of your followers and feeling their pain is the first step becoming an effective leader. Now, you need to understand what they're going through. Why are they upset? Why are they going through pain? Why are they finding the difficulties with their duties? By you understanding and outlining that, you have empathized with them, okay? With empathy, a leader needs to provide a solution to the following issues. They're very important that you, as providing empathy to your followers, and your employees or your team are going through a difficult time and they're feeling negative, or your particular team is going through hard emotional because of certain personal factor, you need to come up with a solution. You need to provide them with a solution. Maybe working from home for a certain period, or maybe taking some time off, or give them maybe a holiday for a week, or something that can actually solve their pain or the emotions they're going through. Okay, so you need to provide a solution to their problems. The next quality relates to resilience. Now, leader need to be resilient and have a positive attitude, okay, irrespective of how difficult the circumstances might be. Now, this is a very, very important quality again, that we spoke this earlier, that as a leader, you do have to stand positive at all times. You look at the leaders of UAE regarding with the coronavirus, how strong are they, and how positive, and how the media indicating that, look, everything's going to be okay, it's just a matter of time. So when they're positive, it gives us this sustained sensibility that yes, things are going to be okay, it's going to be good. That these leaders need to provide us assurance everything will be okay. So this is another very important quality. While most people are busy in complaining about their problems, great leaders always focus on the solution. So remember that as a leader, even though that all your stakeholders could be talking about the issues and the problems, you should always be thinking about the solution. How are we going to, come out of that problem? What will be the best solution for this problem? Okay, the most effective solution. Okay. Leaders are resilient by recovering quickly from difficulties. Now, this is a very important point, that you need to recover as a leader quickly from any major problems that you might be facing, and you need to make sure that if there's a major problem, or a difficult problem, you need to make sure that you have a solution, a quick solution to resolve that problem, and not just a quick solution, but the proper right solution. So, two factors plays impact here. One is it's going to be, you need a quick solution, a quick decision, and you got to make sure it is the right decision. Okay, and this is being resilient. The next quality is emotional intelligence. Now, we spoke earlier about empathy. Now, this intellect with emotional intelligence. Now, there's a formula, and if you look at the slide here on my left, you'll see a formula, an equation, that IQ plus EQ equals success. What does that mean? Okay, so we all know what IQ is. It's basically intelligence quotient, which is basically your level of intelligence, and your EQ is basically your emotional intelligence. Okay, now when you put your personal intelligence and you put your emotional intelligence, that plus that equals success. So what we're saying is that they both work hand in hand, and you need both together, not one or the other. You could be very, very intelligent, okay, but you don't have emotional intelligence, and one provides success. Or you could have very strong emotional intelligence, but you're not very intelligent. Again, you won't have that major success. So let's go through the points here. It states, for a leader to increase their influence, they need to connect to the followers emotionally. That is emotional intelligence. So you as a leader need to connect emotionally. As I said, we humans work greatly with emotions. So you need to really focus on that, okay? So emotional intelligence and empathy work in hand, even though they're two little bit different, but just really put a lot of emphasis with this quality in relation to emotional intelligence. With emotional intelligence, leaders can control their own emotions, which prevent negative emotions from influencing decision-making skills. Now, remember again, because we're humans, sometimes we make decisions based on emotions. I'm going to fire this person because I don't get along with him or her. You know, I don't like the way that he or her talk, or etc., etc. So even though they could be really good at their job, but because of your emotions or because of something that's said about you in a negative way, you have these emotions that's running inside of you that you dislike them. And you may make the wrong decision, okay, based on your personal emotions. So emotions make a big difference, especially with decision making itself. Emotionally intelligent leaders are great at understanding the emotions and care about the feeling of their followers. Now again, making sure that you understand your own emotions. In addition to that, you need to understand the emotions of your followers. That's crucial. What they're going through, okay? As an example, it might be going through inflation and they're struggling financially, okay? You need to understand that. So therefore, you need to be aware of the emotions, okay? Again, another typical example that we're going through at the moment is the coronavirus. You know, if you're working with employees and they're working from home, as an example, and they're going through the emotions, they're scared, etc., this is all part of emotions. What positive emotion that you're going to provide to them? How are you going to emphasize with them? Okay, so this is a crucial time where leadership really stands out. Okay, when people need your help, especially with emotions, you need to provide it. You need to provide it in the right way. And the last statement talks here about leaders who have the emotionally intelligent quality not only handles conflict better, but also play an important role in conflict resolution. Okay, this is very important that when we control our emotions and we're going through a conflict, when an employee, a lot of my jobs as a senior management I had in Australia, and in Australia, a little bit different in the Middle East, where an employee can be negative to the CEO, can provide negative feedback, and literally can state to them, you know what, I don't like you as a CEO. You as a CEO are not doing a good job. We have these employees can make such a statements and not get fired, mind you, okay, if they have basis or foundation to support their statement. Now, if that CEO can control his or her emotions, now they could actually come back and go, well, why are you making that statement? Tell me, what is your basis for you saying that I'm not a good CEO? Oh, because you made this decision and you told us this and do this. Okay, then you can come back, and because of this conflict, because obviously both of you is actually, his or she's could be very fired up in relation to not liking the certain decision that you made, okay, and you believe that the decision that you made are correct, you, okay, can control your emotions, okay, and not get angry and explain, well, have a seat. And usually psychologically, when you do sit down, actually, it controls you, makes you a little bit more relaxed, actually, than confronting someone, especially with conflicts, in comparison when you're standing up. So when you're going through conflicts, best trying to sit down and explain. I'll have to actually, certain strategies where I have to explain to certain employees or managers why I've taken that strategy, even though that could be part of the strategy itself. but they're so concerned that it may affect the department. So this is where emotion can play a huge role. And this is where emotional intelligence with my IQ, experience and intelligence, I can put both together and go, look, this is a situation, I've decided this from a practical point of view, and I can work my emotion by staying cool and calm and collective and controlling my emotions and explaining to this individual or group of why I've decided on that strategy, okay? And many, many times in Australia where I had this conflict with employees not agreeing with a certain decision that I made, and they were so fired up and angry, and I was confronted, and I had to literally explain why I made those decisions, even though being a senior manager or CEO hadn't, I could have said, no, I don't have to explain that to you, but I had to control my emotions and really stay calm and cool and collective. And it's difficult. It is difficult, especially when people are confronting you and asking you questions on certain decision that you've actually made. Okay, so very important ingredient for you to be really to handle, and sometimes it takes time to achieve this quality and years. So keep that in mind. But again, just keep in mind that always thinking of the 3 C's: sit down, and even actually the breathing skills, and always work from a logical perspective in comparison to emotional perspective. And always actually, what I've also found in relation to this point is that acknowledge your followers' emotions. So what I would actually say is that I totally understand how upset and angry you are, because you're probably scared that you're going to be losing your job, or you're scared that we're going to cut your budget, or we're going to cut your wages by 20% or 30%. I can see your concern. I can see why you're so upset. By you acknowledging that to your followers or to that particular individual, that person immediately understands that you understand where they're coming from, and immediately puts them on ease. Thank God, he actually understands why I'm upset. Okay, so the other thing that I've actually found it very helpful with such a conflict is that you got to also take lead. And what I mean by that is that you need to explain to them as you're sitting down, okay, after you've acknowledged the emotions, you got to tell them now, you got to give them commands. Look, now, give me a chance to explain to you why I made those decisions, okay? And I would like, and tell them, now I'm going to explain it to you now, I want you to use your logic, please. And literally command them to take the emotions out, and you need to explain it to them. Take the emotions out, because that will help by you stating that to them, by you obviously acknowledging it, and then commanding that goes miles. Now, when you tell them that, they actually then listen, and they actually think from a logic point of view, okay? And then they'll realize why you made that decision, okay? And then obviously from that, you need to explain to them that the concern they're actually having about their personal matter is not a concern. It's not going to affect them. Give them assurance. This is really a quality of leadership, and coming back to emotional intelligence. Now, what you've done there is you actually worked all on emotions. 1, you acknowledge. 2, you've told them, hold on, just leave your emotions out of the picture for a minute. Listen to me and look at the logic behind my decision. And then concluding by the concern that they were so concerned initially about with the emotions is not a concern, because it doesn't affect them. Okay? So keep that in mind. A very important strategy for you as a leader. The next one that I would like to point out as a next quality is emotional intelligence, which is, my apologies, with the slide here, there's an error. The heading itself, it says emotional intelligence, but it actually relates to humility. My apologies, this slide here, again, the heading itself should be humility itself. And you'll see a statement here that God opposes the proud ones, but graciously cares for the humble ones. Okay, so basically, in other words, that God doesn't like arrogant people, and He loves those who are humble. Okay, which is very important. So you as a leader need, even though you could be a CEO, you could be earning 10 times as what they're earning, etc., etc., etc. But just stay humane, stay, as we stay in Australia, that come back to earth. Okay, so a couple of statements here. A good leader should not be arrogant or have pride, and they need to be modest. Okay, so even when you're making speeches, or when you're giving commands or delegating, don't do it with an arrogant. Okay, so the way you can actually provide a task could be taken quite arrogantly, even from your action or from the words that you've actually used. A leader needs to focus on the team dynamic and help others instead of focusing on the self-promotion and recognition. So sometimes as a leader, you are so proud of yourself that I need to achieve this goal, because by me achieving this goal, it means that I am the best CEO of the company. Okay, self-recognition. Okay, pride. Okay, now you need to remove that as much as you can. Okay, so sometimes as humans, we tend to be too proud of ourselves. Okay, because of our success, of our achievements, of our qualification, whatever it may be, whatever the case may be. But you need to, come down and, just ensure that the arrogance, is broken, and making sure that you are modest. Very important, because, you may also break that bond between you and the followers. I don't want to go to my leader. I don't want to ask him any questions because he's just so arrogant. I had a leader, when I started in my management, and whenever I asked a question to him, he would answer, well, you should know better. Well, I'm coming for you as a leader for solutions, and you're replying, I should know better. And how do you reply to that? How do you reply to that? Now, so you got to, as I said, actions or the words that you use can come very arrogant or come out very, proud, that break the bond between you and the followers. The next quality is actually called transparency, and it's very important that for you as a leader to be transparent and not to avoid hiding information, because what happens when you as a leader and you hide information from your stakeholders, it means that you are hiding certain information from them that may impact them, and that will be taken negatively. Okay, why is he hiding this? Especially if they do find that later on. Okay, so as it states here, a great strategy of any leader is to win trust, is to be transparent. Okay, by providing visibility to the followers, they will buy into your vision and provide support with conviction in achieving that goal. So by you being transparent, one, it will build that stronger connection, and two, it will build trust. You're not hiding information from me. You, as we state, in layman English, that you got all the cards on the table. You've got nothing to hide. There you go. I've got nothing to hide. We have this problem. We have this financial issue here. This is the concern that we have, everybody, and I want your support to support our organisation to ensure that we achieve our budget, so that way to avoid this financial crisis that we're going through. You said it out loud. You're not hiding anything, okay? It further provides clarity, okay, and makes it feel more empowered while keeping them engaged. Now, very important that, as it says here, it provides also clarity, okay, in the sense that you being very clear, okay, and providing that good feeling, which will play a major impact on the emotions as well. So if you're not being transparent, It will play on your emotions. The next quality is actually vision and purpose. Okay. Now, one of my a great leader that I've listened to quite regularly, Simon Sinek, he stated, "Great leaders must have two things: a vision of the world that does not yet exist, and the ability to communicate that vision clearly." Now, you as a leader have to have that vision that maybe others have not seen, that a vision that where you want to take that company to the next level, and that next level that no one thought of except you as that leader. Okay? Very well said from Simon. A great leaders must have two things: a vision of the world that has not yet exist. Okay? Wow. Creative, innovative, rings a bell. An ability to communicate that vision clearly. Okay, so you need to have you need to be a very good communicator to ensure that you communicate that vision to your stakeholders. Okay. Now, good leaders always have a strong vision and purpose. Leaders need to make a creative vision, articulate that vision and strategy, and achieve that vision. So making sure that whenever you have that vision, first of all, that you need to believe in that vision and making sure that that vision can really be achieved, that it's not impossible. Okay. Our next slide, slide number 28, is examples of leadership. So some great examples of leaders such as Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Martin Luther King, okay, Barack Obama, and Mrs. Martha Stewart. A leader is the one who knows the way, goes the way, and knows the way. Wow, well said. Look at that. A leader is the one who knows the way, okay, goes the way, and shows the way. So first of all, he actually making sure that he's going to go into that road, and he shows others, come follow me, I'm going to show you the path. Okay? Great leaders, and most of them did that. Now I'm going to focus on Steve Jobs. Again, I look up to Steve in many aspects, and also did my one of my thesis, part of my MBA, on Steve Jobs. Now, Steve Jobs actually has great qualities as a leader, and one of the qualities that really made Steve stand out is that his experience, his past experience, and he used that in his situation and made him succeed. So, as it states here on this slide, this is slide number 29, leadership practitioners can enhance the learning value of the experience by creating opportunities to get feedback, taking a 10% stretch, which is a technique, learning from others, keeping a journal of daily leadership event, and having a development plan. And that's exactly what Steve Jobs did. He kept actually, he had a journal, and he also kept and also getting feedback from his direct stakeholders or employees that he worked quite closely with. Steve demonstrated learning from experience by obtaining feedback from his close work colleagues, such as Steve, who's actually at the moment the CEO of Apple, and applying this to his workplace for improvement. So this was also a very important strategy that, for you to be a leader, you need to learn from experience and on certain strategies that you're actually taking and so on. So this is crucial. Now, the other thing that also Steve conducted is used a strategy called transformational leadership. And what does that relate to? And there's a beautiful slide putting his, how he transformed from being so young to old and what he had. Great photo there, one of my favorite. So slide number 30 talks about Steve utilized to make the changes in his organization in two different situations. Okay, firstly, when he committed at next and Pixar in 1985, and second when he came back as the original position as a CEO of Apple in 1997. He demonstrated good qualities of transformational leadership in both situations when he was able to accomplish success, providing a clear vision, teamwork, innovation ideas. So what he did when he came back, especially with Apple, he used all his experience, especially when he worked with Pixar and Next, that he gained that experience and he implemented that into Apple itself. And by learning from past experience and taking those strategies and implementing it into the new job, it provided that transformational leadership and transferred that company from one state to another, okay, by providing new ideas. Obviously, where Apple is because of that, and by ensuring that his teamwork worked differently. Now, one of the things that really that I like about Steve when I read his biography and I was doing my research is that his employees, the people that actually used to work for him, didn't want to go home. So imagine that you as a leader and you have these employees that want to go home because they're so passionate about their work. These employees who actually worked at Apple literally state, we did not want to go home. We were so passionate, we were so motivated with what we were working on and this amazing technology and the motivation that Steve given us that we did not want to go home. Wow, what a great leader. When you have employees love their job so much that they actually do not want to go home and they want to continue working to achieve that goal that you set for them, what an achievement. What a leadership. I haven't gained that personally. I haven't had in my employees saying that I don't want to go home as yet. And I'm hoping maybe one day I'll achieve that. But that is an amazing achievement as a leadership. So these qualities enable him to obtain little resistance from his followers. Therefore, he was able to transform the organization. So for him to have these qualities and experience and able to work with his team and provide that vision and where he wanted to achieve and how he wanted to achieve it and that amazing concept of what Apple is now to his followers, provided such a little resistance, okay, and provided more motivation, okay, and that's what caused what we call a transformational leadership. The other thing that also a technique that Steve really used quite well, and you'll see that part of his research, is that he really actually coached his team. Okay, he really coached his team. So he conducted a lot of formal, informal, and he never came across as, I am the owner of Apple, I am the CEO, I am a multi-millionaire or billionaire at later stages. Okay, you always see him as a normal person wearing a standard jeans and a standard t-shirt, okay, that he mingled and laughed with his employees, okay, and knew his employees with their weaknesses and strengths and worked and conducted formal and informal meetings. And they could be having a cuppa and going for a coffee or going out somewhere, and he would actually talk to them informally about their, his employees' weaknesses, okay, and how they can do better or achieve better, okay, and we'll talk normally. So you can see that definitely Steve Jobs, broke the arrogance, completely, and it meant that everybody was equal, even himself, okay. And we're going to talk about that quality later on, which is a whole theory of leadership, and that's why he's actually, a lot of his employees really did like working for Steve Jobs, and most of these employees achieved great things from engineers and others, coming up with great creative, innovative ideas. Okay, yes, Steve Jobs was, in relation, he was very determined. He had a very strong vision, and he wanted to achieve that vision no matter what, and made sure that everybody needs to achieve that vision. But that's part of leadership, is that you need to communicate that vision, but he also provided the support. Okay, so you give me a very difficult task, but don't leave me in the ocean. Okay, and you know that I can't swim. You know that I'm going to drown. What are you doing to me? As a leader, you need to know my capacity. You need to know that, okay, well, hold on, I'm going to put you through the ocean. I know that you don't swim, but don't worry. I've got a boat just next to you. I'm going to give you a floaty, just, so you can, swim with, etc., etc. I'm going to give you support. Don't you worry about that. That's what a leadership is all about. Okay. Now, the next slide, it talks about the difference between a leader and a manager. Wow. Now, this is very important. You'll see this amazing image here, where you have a leader is leading at the front. He's actually holding the rope, and he's got his followers pushing this massive load. Okay. Now, the leader is actually the one at the front, and he or she is pushing. Okay, he's the one or she's the one that's leading and doing the work. Okay, so that is what a true leader is. Now, a manager, you'll see from this diagram that the manager is standing back and giving direction. Push harder. You gotta achieve this. You're not doing this. Okay, and letting obviously the team work hard, while the manager sits back and just watches the team do all the hard work. Okay, so a great diagram to demonstrate that. Now, a couple of points I would like to mention here, part of the slide, is the main difference between a leader and a manager is that the leader have people follow them, while managers have the people who work for them. Okay, so this is really the major difference. So leaders have people follow, and managers have people work. Okay, so if you need to be a good leader, okay, and if you're a manager now, then you got to make sure these people follow you. Okay, this is a really important point. Now, the next point I would like to emphasize is that leaders bring out the best in others, and this is a crucial point, and it comes back to emotional intelligence again. That you know where to tick. You know where to push those buttons on those individuals to motivate them, okay, to take them out and work harder and bring these great ideas out of them, okay. So this is again a very important skill from the leaders. They lead by example. They encourage, inspire, influence, promote others, and they bring out the best in those around them. That is true leadership. Managers delegate to others, and they make people just work, and they're expecting the outcome. That's all what managers do. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, the next slide, you'll see here, basically you've got two columns. One is actually for managers, and one is leaders. So managers copes with complex issues, where leader copes with the change. Okay, now as a leader, you need to understand that changes will always happen. Okay, we got one of the greatest changes that we're having at the moment we're going through is coronavirus. How are you going to change your workplace? How are you going to change your operation? How are you going to change your strategies? A leader needs to think about that. It takes a leader to come with a great strategy for that. The next one is administrator, where a leader innovates and initiates. So the manager conducts all this administration and manages and ensures that this is as per budget and as per the KPIs, where the leader, he or she is constantly innovating and constantly initiating new plans, new strategies. okay, new goals. The managers focus on current situation and short-term goals. That's usually what the managers tend to do. However, leaders focus on the future and the long-term goals, and that's where the vision really comes into the picture. That's where the vision comes from, that leadership. That you as a leader, if you are, put as a general manager or a CEO or you're a chairman or you have your own business, making sure that vision is very strong and very clear and that you believe in that vision, okay? And we're going to talk later about that. Managers control and regulate. However, leaders inspire and motivate. Look at the difference. Okay, and the list goes on and on. The one that I actually do like is managers delegate and ensure work gets done, okay, where leaders inspire people to achieve, even though people think that they may not think they can achieve that goal, but leaders inspire them that yes, you can achieve, especially with large profits or returns or targets, etc. And the last point that I also like is actually where managers do things right, where leaders do the right things. Okay, so give that in perspective. Now that we complete our first chapter, I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to our second topic. If you have any questions or concerns of what we discussed, please, you can send the university your concerns or questions, and I'm more than happy to answer them. Thank you very much. Take care and stay healthy. Thank you.